Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another inspirational episode of Vonti Talks with Filmmakers podcast. Our special guest today is James Russell, a multifaceted entertainment executive for over 30 years. James is currently in Toronto, Canada, and working hard to open up a major motion picture studio in Africa. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Vonti Talks with Filmmakers. Today, we have Mr. James Russell, who has been in the entertainment industry for some time. James, will you please give the audience a little bit of feedback on what your position is and how long you've been in this industry?
Wow. Thank you, Vonti. And it's a privilege to be on your show.
Thank you for coming on.
I started my production company back in the mid 1990s after a career in journalism. So we've been sort of producing short films, and we began our first feature not too long ago, which was interrupted by COVID. So I'm the producer with my production company, and
what is the name of that? What is the name of it?
MANKS Productions.
MANKS Productions.
MANKS. This is the first letters of the first names of my children.
Oh, that's so nice.
And then I'm the partner, along with two other partners, of Walvis Bay Motion Picture Studios, which is a $197 million motion picture studio that we're developing in Namibia.
That is amazing. Listen, you guys, we have a person out here that is doing amazing things. He is about to create an entire studio with your other two partners. Would you mind giving us the names of those individuals?
Sure. Greg Williams, he's based in Calgary, and Guy Knuckles, who's based in Namibia.
So dope.
Both of them have their own individual production companies, and they've been in the business for years and years.
I love how you just casually said that, we're creating a motion picture studio out in Namibia, Africa. But before we jump forward so far, I do like that you mentioned that you've been in the industry since the 90s. Being a mass comm broadcast journalism background myself, I have a bachelor's degree in that. Let's go back to that. So you were in the journalism side. What made you transition? Like, how did you do that transition from journalism into the media side, TV and film?
Well, it was interesting. I've been with the Toronto Star, which is Canada's largest newspaper, as a photographer. And around 5 years into my 10-year term there, I began writing screenplays, and no one would produce my screenplays, so I began producing my own shorts.
Wow.
And once I left the Star, of course, I left the Star to go to Los Angeles to become a famous screenwriter. About an hour and a half after I arrived there, I realized that every busboy, dishwasher, car washer, cop, executive has 12 screenplays in their back pocket. So I had a bit of competition.
You are so right. When I lived in LA, it was the same exact thing. It was just like everybody always wanted to know, what are you here for? What are you trying to do? And that was the most hysterical thing, because I never had thought of that. So, but you mentioned that you're in Canada and you work for one of their newspapers and decided to give it all up and move to Los Angeles. So
Yes.
How, aside from all of that with the whole LA thing, and once you got settled in and realized you made a mistake, but maybe not, what actually happened after that? Because I know you've had a very storied career, James, and I would love for the audience to hear all that.
Yeah, well, I came back, and of course, I wasn't going to pay the bills with screenwriting or producing short films. So I went into corporate communications, which is sort of my background as a writer, mostly writing material for websites and speeches and that kind of thing. So that took me right up to, gosh, I guess I did that for about 10, 15 years, and then just recently, my company began optioning literary material with the intention of producing it as either a feature film or a television project. The most recent one, of course, I think you know about, is Doctor to the Dead, which is the recently published book by a South African forensic pathologist, amazing woman, and she has an amazing book. And when we found out about the book, which was just published in September, we reached out to her, and then we reached out to her publisher, and then we reached out to her agent, and we were able to obtain the rights. So we're trying to put together a cast, especially a lead actress, as well as the funding. This just happened 2 weeks ago, so we're well on our way.
And now a word from one of our sponsors. After starting my podcast, I needed to hire the pros to market the content. Are you looking for digital success? Look no further. World Boss HQ is your strategic partner. Their experts turn your vision into a digital masterpiece. From stunning websites to powerful marketing, they've got you covered. Startups or established businesses, they are your one-stop solution. Visit worldbosshq.com. That is WORLDBOSSHQ.com and unleash your potential today. World Boss HQ Digital Marketing. Your online empire awaits. We are excited to bring you this world-exclusive teaser from Bad Rabbit Pictures and Movie Pods. They are presenting Age of Prophecy, a sci-fi fantasy podcast done in the style of the radio dramas of yesteryear. Coming soon to all streaming platforms. Visit www.moviepods.com or www.thenukechronicles.com for all the release dates. You won't want to miss this one. Your myths were born from our history. Let's check it out.
Life. A vile, messy sequence of events before we die. All designed for something beyond us. It has to be. Or else, what's the point? You don't know me, but I know you. I am responsible for your triumphs and miseries. I am Zira and Lilzor, and to truly understand your own story, you must know mine. Your myths were born from my history.
Hi there, and welcome back to Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. That is so exciting too. And like, if you don't mind, give them more of an idea of that, because I know that you shared with me more of that story, and I thought it was so intriguing. Because remember, before we had spoken, one of my favorite authors is Patricia Cornwell. I was so addicted to that, but this takes it to a whole other level, especially all being in Africa. And I always felt like, based on what you shared with me, it was almost like a mix between Grey's Anatomy and a CSI situation based out in South Africa.
And a little bit of Bones in there too.
Exactly.
Yes.
So before you get into that, what made it so attractive to you as well? Because you're changing a career, like you said, 10, 15 years. What drew you into that content?
Well, I wanted to be able to have more of a position at the table to create. That's why I partnered with my two other partners to build the film and television production studio, as well as optioning this literary material. It allows me to have some skin in the game, whereas as a screenwriter, I had none except for, ink on a page. So that appealed to me. This book, called Blood Has a Voice, was quite interesting in that, I don't know if you remember Bones, but in Bones and some of those programs, the actors are always like they're wearing Chanel and they've got high heels, and their hair is always done. Well, actually, Dr. Van Staden, who is actually the pathologist, said the first thing she does when she comes in is she puts on a pair of rubber boots, because she spends the entire day walking around in blood and body fluids. She has 5 layers of protective clothing, goggles, mask, and hair protection. And she has 2 pairs of gloves on, which are needle and nail proof. So it's quite a different reality than what you see on television. So we thought it was a great story.
Yeah, it sounds like it really is amazing, like you mentioned, because it's more set into reality. Nothing against Bones or anything like that. We're not trying to throw their stuff under the bus, but sometimes you just need to pivot from what you normally see about content. And it's really great to hear that. Now, how did you transition into going from the career that you had for 10 to 15 years back into the screenwriting? Like, really tell us what motivated that, because you were discouraged going to LA, but then now you're like, all right, I'm going round 2. So now you're back in the boxing ring, James.
Yes. Well, I never gave up writing screenplays. So I think I've completed 25 feature screenplays,
Wow,
5 pilots, and 3 novels. So I never gave up. I love writing.
Me too.
But as I mentioned, being able to produce and being a partner with a large project like that, it gave me a little bit more leverage than I had as a screenwriter. But I never gave up writing. I write every day. I have a favorite coffee shop. I get up at 4 a.m. I do my workout. I answer my emails because Namibia is 7 hours ahead. So and then Los Angeles is 3 hours behind. So I always have a bunch of emails accumulated at 4 a.m, do my exercises, answer my emails, and then I'm off to the coffee shop to do my writing for a couple hours anyway.
I love that. So then you can get into that creative mind space and getting into more deep into the screenwriter portion. What is your favorite genre to write, or do you have a specific one? What do you feel is your bread and butter? I know what mine is, but
drama for sure. I tried science fiction. I sucked at it. I tried. I want one screenplay I started was set on a different planet, and I realized that if you set a story on a different planet, then you have to understand physics, chemistry, biology. There's so many different aspects that you have to understand in order to make it believable. Because another planet is not Earth, so therefore the same rules don't apply.
Yes.
So I sucked at science fiction. So I stick with drama. A couple of the scripts are thrillers, but mostly drama. I'm trying to think. Yes, drama.
So who would be your ideal actress for this newest drama that is novel adaptation? Let them know who you're wishing for, because you never know who's listening in. And
Oh
that's what I
gosh.
tell my guests, and we'll take a break in a second once you tell them.
Okay. I'm I'm
Okay,
hoping.
a few ideas.
Well, I'm hoping for Bryce Dallas Howard. If not Bryce Dallas Howard, then I was thinking, we were thinking that we would love to see someone like Angela Jolie. You know, we're reaching way beyond our abilities, but you know, that's our goal. Who we end up with will likely be more based in reality, but we need an A-list actress that will help us to not only attract a distributor or a broadcaster, but also to raise the funds and also to attract an A-list director. So that's the plan.
I love the plan. I mean, you got to listen, you have to aim high. If you didn't, then you're just making, you know, a small budget short based on the novel, you know?
Right,
So,
right.
guys, you are listening to Vonti Talks with Filmmakers. We will be right back as we have a word from our supporting sponsors. Now, an exciting message from our sponsors. When I decided to launch this podcast, I had the tools to find talent and market the show, but needed a skilled editor to bring it all to life. That's when I turned to Jacob Daly at redhawk.uk. His collaborative approach and swift revisions transformed my vision into reality. redhawk.uk, your one-stop solution for creative content services. Reach out to them. Now a word from another of our supporting sponsors, that is Realm IQ, a new AI consultancy started by film marketing veteran Kurt Doty, who has built an international team of AI mentors to help AI change management for your business. Go to www.curtdoty.co/Realm IQ. Smart people for smart adoption, creating smart worlds. Realm IQ. Book your AI workshop today. Adopt or perish. Hi there, and welcome back to Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. Welcome back, you guys. We are back with Vonti Talks with Filmmakers. We are here talking to James Russell, who is a producer and screenwriter extraordinaire who's lived a lot of different lifetimes and done a lot of different things with the journalism background. And now he's transitioned back into the creative space. So we know what your favorite genre is, but I know for me, I've had influencers. Did you have any mentors in this industry?
Not that come to mind on a one-to-one basis. There are some Canadian directors who I've been able to work with who have been, you know, quite inspiring. But really, no, as a writer, no one sort of one-on-one. You know, writing is sort of a solitary business, as you know. So I've been, you know, I met some amazing people when I was in Los Angeles. There are so many really, really smart people in Los Angeles. And on the flip side, there are some really, really not smart people in Los Angeles. There seems to be polar opposites.
So let me pivot then. So the directors and stuff that you knew in Canada, what were they able to help you refocus on or anything like that? Because that's what it is. It can be a mentor for a day or someone that just inspires you to move forward into the next phase of your life. So
well, you know,
very much different.
Yeah, you know, the recurring advice is always, you know, never give up and keep writing. But as a producer, it was interesting. The best piece of advice I received and I can't remember which director gave it to me, when I asked him what kinds of projects he looks for as a director, and he was also a producer. And he says he looks for great stories, well told. And that's always been my mantra too, to find great stories that are well told. And as a writer too, to create great stories and tell them well, which is really important.
And I really love that you said that, because I think the best scripts or just the best TV and film projects are ones that you connect with when they have a great story. The ones that get, tossed to the sidelines, or people say, I don't understand them, or whatever the case may be, they don't have enough engaging characters, they don't have enough of engaging plot and everything, and the delivery of it. It doesn't matter what the budget is per se sometimes, as long as you're framing it up right. But when you have quality work, it could be on a freaking iPhone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So could you describe to us what was one of the best projects you ever worked on for yourself?
Ooh.
It could be indie, it could be a short film, it could be like one that you were brought on to consult with or something like that. It doesn't even have to be on the networks, because people assume filmmakers, you've only made it if you've been at a major Hollywood studio or something. As a filmmaker, your stuff gets screened at a film festival, and you should be proud of that work, because we all know it takes a lot to get work done, right?
Well, the film, the short film, and it was a very short film, it was about 3 minutes, that I'm most proud of. It was called Happy Father's Day. And it came from it was designed as sort of a pitched film to try to bring in funding. But basically, I have 5 kids. 4 boys and 1 girl.
Oh, wow.
One of them once called me and he asked for bail money. What happened is that he was in a car that was stopped by the police with 4 other people, and they found a gun in the car.
Oh, wow.
And it occurred to me, as a father, as a parent, how far would I go if my child began hurting people? As a parent, is my child no longer my responsibility once they turn 18? Or as a parent, am I always responsible for their actions? So I wrote the script about a loving father who discovers that his son has become a serial killer. And he wrestles with the idea of, do I let the police handle this? Is it now society's problem? Or do I, as a father, have to track down and stop my son from hurting anyone else? Excuse me. So I wrote the script. I don't know if you know John Billingsley. He's from 2000, the movie 2012. You see him very often. He was in Star Trek. And we flew John up to Toronto for 2 days, and we shot this 3-minute short, and it turned out really, really well. John was amazing, and basically his 3-minute monologue was, "This is my son. I'm his father. I love him. But," and then it becomes very dark. And then in the background, we hired a couple pyrotechnic experts, because this serial killer kills people with Molotov cocktails.
Oh, wow.
So we had some flames in the background, and it turned out really well. And you can find it on YouTube.
I was about to say, give them the name. So it's Happy Father's Day, and you can find it on YouTube. Would it be under your production company, or would it, if they typed in James Russell?
Yeah, no, it'll be under MANKS Productions.
I actually like that idea, though. That would be an intriguing film because, I
Uh,
mean, we know now with all of, the mass shootings and all of that stuff, that would be, and there's a lot of serial killers that was out there, like the woman in Long Island, New York, who had no idea her
right.
husband was even doing all of that, how must she feel in her mind that her husband, the person she slept next to, is a serial killer?
Yeah.
Like how do you even grasp something like that?
Yeah. 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 It's a good question. Wives always know when their husbands are cheating. I find it difficult to believe that a parent wouldn't know that something is wrong with their child.
Yeah, yeah. And it's multi-layered though, right? Because think about how hard, I know for me as an American, how hard it is because we work a lot. Right?
Mhm.
It's like, especially coming from New York. I know
Right.
most New Yorkers have at least 2 to 3, sometimes up to 5 jobs at a time. So how much time are you so busy that you begin to tune out because you don't have even the brain capacity? And I always
Right.
tell people the worst thing is like being mentally exhausted, not
Yes.
physically exhausted. Because physically, if they say you got 5 more flights of stairs, you're like, man, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to make myself
Right.
do it. But when
Yeah.
you're mentally
Yeah.
exhausted, you
Yeah.
can shut down. It's like somebody shut off the computer. So it's multifaceted, and you can go
Yeah.
down all of those avenues of like maybe people on the outside judging that situation and everything. So I actually
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the concept. Listen, you guys, you need to reach out to James Russell and get Happy Father's Day actually developed. And this man has 20 more something scripts for you to look at and everything. But
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. It was a great project. And John was an amazing actor. We had a crew of about 15. We shot it all in I think 8 hours. But
nice.
we were really happy with the way it turned out, and we're still hoping to get it produced because, as you say, it's a very topical subject.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of parents out there.
Hmm. Exactly. And there's a lot of people on the other side that not would side with the kid, but they would have that connection with um, the whole dynamic of life just happening, right? So, but I really love that concept. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. You've just tuned into an episode of Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. We'd like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their knowledge. This has been a production of Vonti Pictures, hosted by me, Vonti McCrae, a screenwriter and producer. We'd also like to thank Bad Rabbit Pictures for the animated content and creator of upcoming podcast Age of Prophecy, along with our sponsor, redhawk.uk, with all episodes being edited by Jacob Daly, director, producer, and a man of many talents. Come back next week as this saga continues for the Conversations with Filmmakers podcast.